Ukrainian Kursk offensive version 2. What is known so far? Second topic, to gas or not to gas. Russia is fueling the Transnistria energy crisis for propaganda and destabilization purposes, of course, says Moldova. Blitz interview as a topic number 3, founder of Lifeline Ukraine, businessman and journalist, and a fine gentleman, if you ask me, Mr. Paul Nyland. Good afternoon, my name is Henry Keane and we are UATV English, an English-speaking Ukrainian state media in constant persuasion to deliver hard truth in easy terms for you, for the whole free world, directly from Ukraine. Ukrainian forces launched an offensive in Russia's Kursk Oblast on the nights of 4th and 5th January 2025. If you get to ask anyone around Ukrainian media realm, be it head of the Ukrainian president's office, Andriy Yermak, or maybe Radio Liberty, or maybe Meduza, now a Latvia-based Russian media outlet, citing Russian military bloggers or even Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation, everyone says that since the morning of Sunday, 5th January, several Russian pro-war propaganda channels were nervously reporting on the, I quote Russians, beginning of the new offensive by the Ukrainian military in Kursk Oblast. Some even say that Ukrainian troops were advancing from the town of Suja towards the village of Bolshoye Soldatskoye and by now advanced as much as 8 kilometers. However, all that is known so far, even officially, is rather emotional.
Oblast. Good news. Russia is getting what it deserves. Andriy Yermak, head of Kursk Oblast. Good news. Russia is getting what it deserves. Andriy Yermak, head of the Ukrainian president's office.
Just recently, the Russian Defense Ministry said Ukraine had lost around 50,000 troops in Kursk, without, however, explaining is that in dead or in wounded or maybe swapped citizenship to Russian. Russians are not explaining anything, while Institute Study of War in turn explains it all in plain figures. In total, Russian forces lost approximately 46,000 soldiers in dead and wounded in November 2024 alone, making it the 5th consecutive month of rising losses for the occupying forces in Ukraine. And also Russia has made it to the world record in a very Russian style. First time ever in a world's history, Russian army has lost more personnel while in defensive than an army on the offensive, meaning Ukrainian army. Says again, not me, but the Institute Study of War. So, whatever is happening in Kursk these days, looking at all the Russian speakers, whether bloggers or official, throwing the speeches and figures and statements, it very much seems, to me at least, that Russians turned on a panic mode on.
The Russians in Kursk are experiencing great anxiety because they were attacked from several directions and it came as a surprise to them. Andriy Kovalenko, head of the Center for Countering Disinformation.
Well, of course, you can choose what to believe in, but undeniably, the best sign of truth is when you don't try to hide it. Indeed, Ukraine does not hide the grim facts. We are suffering from manpower shortages and have been losing ground in the east of Ukraine in recent months as Russian troops advance. As President Zelensky said many times, exactly that was the main reason for the Kursk operation, to establish a buffer zone which would prevent Russians from being deployed in key areas of the front in eastern Ukraine. And looks like it is working. Moscow evacuated almost 200,000 people from areas along the border, and guess who? Dictator Putin himself condemned the Ukrainian offensive, calling it, I quote, a major provocation. Says an ICC indicted outdated Soviet dictator who amended Russian constitution as per his own dictatorial needs so he can rule Russia till his demise, and just a little bit after, probably.
Russian junior commanders are concealing the actual losses among North Korean soldiers, according to Ukrainian intelligence.
The morale of North Korean soldiers is down. They are constantly subjected to Russian army propaganda, emphasizing the great importance of the DPRK army's involvement in the war against Ukraine. On New Year's Eve, there were recorded incidents of alcohol abuse among North Korean soldiers, including those engaged in combat. The main Directorate of Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense on Ukraine on Telegram.
Meanwhile, the Pentagon notes the lack of effectiveness of DPRK military personnel in the war against Ukraine.
The White House recently announced that approximately 1,000 Democratic People's Republic of Korea soldiers have either been killed or wounded in the Kursk region. This is our assessment as well. Sabrina Singh, Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary on the U.S. Department of Defense website.
On December 23, 2024, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reported following a briefing from Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine Alexander Syrsky that the number of killed and wounded North Korean soldiers in the Kursk region had already exceeded 3,000.
На Курщині є вже
In the Kursk region, more than 3,000 North Korean soldiers have been killed or wounded. Russia is simply discarding them in these assaults. Why should North Koreans fight for Putin? No rational person can answer that. Unfortunately, the world is doing almost nothing to counteract this criminal collaboration between Russia and North Korea.
Experts highlight the so-called alliance between North Korea and Russia as mutually beneficial for two dictators. For Kim Jong-un, the benefits include financial and military resources.
Undoubtedly, the transfer of military technologies that North Korea could use to enhance and modernize its defense capabilities, plus financial gains. North Korea needs resources, especially for its missile nuclear potential, as it prepares for another seventh nuclear test, according to South Korean intelligence.
For Putin, North Korean soldiers are additional manpower which Russia critically lacks. In its efforts to maintain control over the Kursk region, Russia disregards losses among DPRK soldiers, as evidenced by its methods of warfare. The Ukrainian Special Operations Forces recently acquired a notebook belonging to North Korea Special Forces operative Gyeong Hong-jong, eliminated by Ukrainian Defense Forces in the Kursk direction in December 2024. The notes describe tactics for capturing drones using bait.
When a drone is detected, form a team of 3 people. The bait handler maintains a distance of 7 meters while the shooters stay 10 to 12 meters away. If the bait handler remains still, the drone will also stop. At that moment, the shooters neutralize the drone. From the notes of a DPRK soldier, from publication by the AFU Special Operation Forces Command on Facebook.
According to US and South Korea data, 11,000 North Korean soldiers were sent to Russia. After training, some of them were deployed to the Kursk region. Reported by Serhiy Kulas, Yulia Hranovska, UATV News.